Welcome to Therapy Explained, where we explain, demystify, and destigmatize mental health and mental health treatment. My name is Deniss. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and your very own mental health cheerleader. Today, we're going to be talking about generational healing. Now, as you know, today is Cinco de Mayo, and we usually talk a lot in this channel about contextualizing ourselves, and we break down generational trauma, historical trauma, parental wounds, so everything that comes with being a person of color, first-generation immigrant, and it's extremely important for us to understand all of this and how trauma is passed down, how to undo it, how to heal it, and I hope that you find it helpful to be able to understand it and then develop some tangible tools to support you in your own healing journey. But for Cinco de Mayo, since we are celebrating perseverance despite big odds or seemingly big odds, today I also want to celebrate our perseverance as people of color, particularly as Mexicans, since today is again a Mexican holiday, Cinco de Mayo, and I want to highlight intergenerational healing, how our resilience has been passed down from generation to generation, and how it helps us kind of mitigate some of that generational or historical trauma. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Number one, multi-generational homes. People of color tend to have multi-generational homes. We live with our grandparents, sometimes even great-grandparents, our parents, us, and maybe even our children in one home. While this can feel a little bit crowded sometimes, it can also be extremely helpful for the mental health of everyone involved. When we have grandparents near grandchildren, it helps them both create really healthy relationships or provides them with an opportunity to do so. Grandparents, as they get older, are given another reason to get up in the morning. It motivates them and gives them something to pass down, or gives them a space to pass down their wisdom and experiences to younger generations. It has been shown that when older adults live with grandchildren, they tend to also live longer and healthier lives. So it's definitely a plus for our grandparents. As far as the grandchildren go, they are also around a caregiver who is playing with them, paying attention to them, and they are receiving so much wisdom and knowledge from generations before them. Culture is passed down, like recipes or hobbies, like, knitting or again, dancing, just so much that can be passed down from generation to generation that adds to our lives. And of course, the parents in this situation also benefit because they're receiving help from their own parents in caring for their grandchildren, which, as we know, can be very helpful and can make a big difference in parents being able to go to work. Childcare is extremely expensive, and it makes a big difference to be able to have someone help you in that area. So all three generations benefit from a multi-generational home, not just in the practical stuff, but also in the emotional learning. It provides us with so much opportunity to build healthy memories and healthy relationships. Number two, perseverance. Now, this is obvious through every generation. Our parents, great-grandparents had to suffer through a lot in their original home countries. Then the immigration process itself is considered a possible trauma. So there is a lot that our parents and grandparents had to go through to get here. We might also be an immigrant ourselves, so we might also have had to go through a lot. And all of that helps us persevere. It builds this strength and a motivation and an ability to not give up despite really big challenges. Once we're here, of course, not to mention all the microaggressions and poverty and a lot of the systemic issues that we have to deal with when we arrive, or even after our parents or grandparents arrive. So there is a lot of barriers, a lot of things that we're working against, not just, again, the systemic and the past trauma, but then also the passed down trauma that we have to deal with, having to break generational cycles, so on and so forth. So there's a lot that we have to deal with, but we also don't give up. Generations before us didn't, and here we are looking at or watching a YouTube video, trying to continue to heal ourselves and learn as many tools as we can to continue to improve every generation the mental health and the quality of life. So perseverance. Number 3, comunidad. A big sense of community. Now, family values can, of course, as we've discussed, be a potential for a lot of help and resiliency, while of course, as we've discussed in the past, can also unfortunately be a place of toxic relationships and pain. But for the purposes of this video, we're looking at the strengths here. This can also help us create a larger sense of family and a larger sense of comunidad, regardless of perhaps what kind of or what quality of relationship we're receiving from our family. We still have this as Latinos, as people of color, a connection with our people, a sense of community, a sense of obligation to pass things down. For example, me making these videos are an example of me feeling connected to a larger community and a responsibility to pass down education and information that I have gained. So the sense of community can be so helpful, so filling, and so healing. We can show up for one another, we reach out for one another, and we at least try our very best to watch out for one another as well. And lastly, cultura. Our cultures, they themselves also can provide us with a lot of resiliency, with a lot of support and even barriers against some potentially toxic or harmful traits or elements of our community or the place that we might live in. Music, dancing, our food, our language, our traditions help create that sense of community. So we don't even need to really be around people, but as soon as that song comes on, we recognize it, we remember our childhood, we remember our family, and all of a sudden our mood can be improved. Cooking and eating our culture's food can also make a big difference. So they themselves serve as coping tools. Now, all of these things are wonderful elements of being Latino, of being a person of color, because multi-generational homes and cultura and comunidad are not uniquely Latinos or Latinx. So it's important for us to recognize that, to celebrate that too, because they help us be resilient. When you are starting to heal yourself, sometimes we end up going back to our childhood, going back to our culture. It was an experience that I had, and I'm wondering if maybe this is an experience that you had, that as you started healing, maybe you even started to go back, that using your culture, connecting to your culture is part of your healing. Going back to the food and even the way that you dress might be an additional process of healing for you. And if it is, leave it down in the comments below. I'd like to know. It definitely has been for me. So today in Cinco de Mayo, remember, we're celebrating a time in which there were these huge barriers. We didn't really think that, or at least the people at that time did not think that they could win, did not think that they could persevere. There were these really big odds. It felt so big, but they did it. And so remember that those are the people that you come from. People who decided to keep going, who were strong, who believed in themselves and one another, and were able to accomplish great things. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be afraid, because I'm sure that they were, or feel overwhelmed or feel anxious, because I'm really sure that they were. It is human. But also have faith in yourself, the people that you come from, and know that you come from people of strength and that you can do this. Your cheat sheet is already available to you on Instagram, so go ahead and jump over there to check it out. Make sure that you're following me if you're not already. And of course, before we go, as always, please give this video some love in any way that feels authentic to you. Every like, comment, subscription, and share helps spread the word about free mental health information and education, and it is greatly appreciated. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, I'm cheering for you.